if that's true, and if the congressman picks it up, then we should have a pretty good shot.
I would think it's really in keeping with the political climate right now of them spending that money in a way that fits their priorities. Given the fact that money's already been allocated in the pipeline and, the powers that be now, to me, our project checks a lot of boxes for them. Keeping their priority.
Well, and if they don't, it's a moot point, isn't it?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
if they decide to pull it back, then, then
Yeah.
it was all for nothing. But I agree, I mean, this is not a partisan project by any stretch, and simple infrastructure, both sides can support something like that, a bridge.
Right. So I'm hopeful that I know Jesse will come up with something tomorrow, and then I'm hopeful that Steve will then get it assigned. This is where it got a little bit, okay. Steve said the process is, it will then get assigned to a staffer in DC to sort of move it through. To get it to the resort. I don't understand that.
This is a month behind schedule as far as I'm concerned, and yes, thank you for catching it, I guess. And it's not ours, although it was certainly ours to convey maybe more clearly. But I'm going to chalk it up as a function of them being relatively new at their jobs, because I feel like we said about a dozen times this is from the infrastructure dollars.
And it seemed like the congressman himself was not really understanding that when we were at the bridge there.
Correct.
Because what I took away was, this is gonna be a hard sell, guys, because of the, budget climate.
Yeah.
Right. I did share that frustration with the former occupant of that position, and she said,
Okay.
show him some grace. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that was that. Oh, and then the next 45 minutes that I had with Steve Breppen and Jesse had left. And we got into a fairly deep dive on Medicaid. This was before. Well, I guess I had a couple of welfare comments, but I brought up the Medicaid issue that people are they're wondering, am I going to have medical coverage? The hospital is worried. Gave me the kind of Washington, D.C. perspective on Medicare as it occupies its spot in the one big beautiful bill. And I had sent this email saying, it's $10 billion for 5 years. Washington State is not going to get that money because the way they're just not, because of the way the legislature and governor have addressed the issue. So that part was not nearly as uplifting or as positive as the bridge part. Jumping around a little bit, the Fire District 4 meeting, it was fine. Charles Slocum sent an email that I forwarded to you about his thoughts on the EMS district. Other than that, it was largely administrative. More interesting part of my week was the Honolulu County Republican Party meeting, which got off to a difficult start with the talking to people before, and they had a resolution on the table for the sanctuary. We're not a sanctuary city. You commissioners need to pass that resolution. And I said, Sheriff already covered that. And I hope I spoke accurately on behalf of my fellow commissioners that we're going to leave it at the sheriff already spoke on that.
Yeah. Okay. I'd already communicated that.
Okay.
At the previous POCR meeting, they got me right as I came through the door.
That was pretty much.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, what's that? I didn't know we're not doing that. So anyway, and then we talked about Medicaid and the welfare issue, because one of the members has this issue with welfare. And that was okay. The more difficult part of the conversation, not so much in the meeting, but before and after and over the weekend, and I'll just summarize it as I wrote down what someone said. This is about the Jamie Peterson visit in September, having the Speaker, the House Majority Leader, Senate Majority Leader come here. And the summary comment was, okay, if you go through with this, we won't endorse you and we will run someone against you in the primary. Okay. Yeah. they believe it is negative value to bring a Democrat here and that he will take advantage of it. Okay, listen to people.
So let me hit the pause button right there. Because it's not in their bylaws. So someone unilaterally made a decision there on the spot and told you that they wouldn't endorse you and that they would run someone against you. Made that decision on the spot in their head.
And spoke for the whole group.
Or they did it in between meetings.
Outside.
Committee's matter, something or other. But it's not in the bylaws that a county commissioner or anyone else can't have a Democrat come visit.
And I will say, this is 2 members, not the chairman.
Right.
Not the
Okay.
current chairman. So it's 2 members. The challenge for me is they're kind of spreading that message and riling
Yeah,
people up.
I-
It's like, okay, I respect your opinion, you're entitled to your opinion.
The greater issue there, Robert, which is a pattern, is you're beholden to us. And that's a pattern of behavior that we have certain expectations. If you want to be part of the party and you're beholden to us, then we're going to put the vote with their head.
Right.
And even in some of the bylaws, and these lines, and you're gonna watch lines. I'm comfortable with talking to a Democrat. I mean, I could not.
Right.
How dare you?
Right, I wanna be really clear, especially since you're someone like, the current chairman, Bill DeSong, in the meeting, said, I believe we should be talking across the aisle.
Yeah.
And he was supportive of it. So I don't wanna make this sound like the current leadership,
Yeah.
the current chairman has opposed this, cause he was fine. It's just there's some members who are just,
Yeah.
and
I will say the other feels to me like it was inevitable, like, I never got a warning that they're gonna run somebody against me or otherwise, not that I attended the meetings to get the warning. But it was the redistricting stuff. I think maybe that's where I lost them.
oh,
Back when we were having that conversation, redrawing the line, re-precincting. not district,
got it, got it.
So all the heat around that, but I mean, it could have been before and it could have been after. I don't have a clear picture at all. It doesn't seem to move the needle. It's just unfortunate because, I mean, like if you went and looked at the job description at the RCW around being a county commissioner and the constitutionality of it, they're way out of their lane here. You have to represent all of the people in the county, which means you have to hear. This is a distinction between listening to a Democrat here or one with a gavel and some actual power.
Right.
I mean, yes, Steve. Well, it's not like you took it in stride there.
You got to. I did close with, I'm asking you to submit to us. Their next meeting is a week before Senator Peterson is here. I said, whether you want him here or not, I really asked you to come up with 3 priorities that you would like us to present to him.
Yes.
And Bill Song was great. Said, we will do that.
That's the correct answer.
That's the
There's
correct.
somebody here, can you get something from them?
Yes, exactly. Right. So, politics is politics, whatever. Other than that, I did a lot of door down and it's great because it's not a campaign here. So I don't have to observe the 5-minute rule. And I got a lot of time in people's living rooms and had good conversations and spent a bunch of time at Diamond Lake and got some good EMS feedback. And I'm not going to extend the EMS discussion here, but I think I'm figuring out where the middle is here. I appreciated your comments.
I did too.
So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And no good deed goes unpunished. I know
Yeah.
that. So,
Yes.
so thank you for that.
Yes.
But I kind of got the middle, and I'm feeling like, of course, I'm always delusionally optimistic.
Yeah.
You know that. But I think we're getting towards. There's a way. I'll be right back.
Surprisingly, I've had quite a few people ask me about it lately, see if I prefer your thoughts on it. Where in the past, it seemed like it's not really been on people's radar. So I think it is people.
Yeah.
Do people mention it
Slow education process.
Yeah, do people mention it to you, doorbelling, or do you bring it up to them?
Oh, I'd say about half and half.
Yeah,
And people know, I mean, people are smarter than we give credit.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they know what they're. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
well, you're the one who votes. I mean, you want to talk about it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I really didn't have any meetings. I've been a week locked up with six photos and cabin.
Ah, yes.
Without my phone. And I actually accidentally left my phone home. I didn't have my phone for 7 days.
Oh,
It was glorious.
yeah.
Oh,
You're a new man. You're about 10 times
Yeah.
lighter.
I did go to the fair the night before I went to the camp. So, and a lot of people, new record for me. I walked around that fair and I had one person complain to me about something. So that's a new record. I have two people compliment me and there. So 6 minutes. And I heard from everybody that basically the project's working fine. There's a few little interventions, some things got cut. They maybe should have gotten replaced, but that'll be resolved. So seems like success there. We will see.
So did you ever get an opportunity to circle
Jesse was the one that tried to call something like this. Yes.
downstairs? That's a question.
I would say I'm reasonably
Okay.
addressed.
Right, well, then we're missing our public works director. That.
Oh, that part of it. Say score, okay.
Okay, anyway, Craig's gone. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we should have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
I will work that into the commissioner report somehow. Or, I don't know. We got a preference there. I mean, gone is gone.
That's not,
What happened?
Well, we'll probably have HR talk to you because I don't have the latest, the updated information. We'll see in your blue folder some information around billing 543 and 544 billing codes that Crab sent over to the county engineer. And, one of their takes on how we bill for the public works director, I did not like at all. It's basically like public works director is work, it got nothing to do with roads, and Donnie would bill his stuff in there. It was kind of the way I read it. And anyway, Greg, it sounded like took exception to that and all the rest of it, and has been gone since. With no intention to return it, I believe. So we've got some executive session, we've got some, around performance of a public employee, and some of that will be with HR, some of that will be with county engineer. But we ought to come up with a plan. Listen, departments in transition and in turmoil require constant communication. Because, as you're so fond of saying, anything they don't know, they're not afraid to fill in the blanks. And so we do want to get that right. I don't want to leave anybody swinging in the wind, even though it's sensitive.
yeah, right. We were gonna cover that just in executive session, but.
Right, well, I mean, some pieces, I think people have to know that the director.
Who's running tomorrow meeting?
I don't know. We got an agenda. After he left, we got an agenda. Olga got an agenda there for public works, so I didn't know who put that together. If it's an amalgamation of people, who sent that agenda up to you?
Christy Perry.
Okay.
And normally what they do is they send everything to her and
Okay.
she created the agenda.
All right. Christy, do we know who's running tomorrow's meeting?
I think it might be a combination of, I'll be up there. I have a couple things that I put together. And I think Jesse will be up there for his engineering update. And then I think I had one thing about the fairgrounds master plan with Ben, and that was, I think, who was all showing up.
So anyway, a lot of one-on-ones and, you know, I mean, we're gonna have to guide this through, and if we were really already in the process of finding, county engineer slash director. So that part's gonna go as usual. I know Human Resources has indicated that they have spoken with, you know, many of the deputy type folk down there, and they've indicated they feel like it's going to be taken, that they can take care of their own stuff within the department and that it should run just fine. But that's what he was calling about, Brian. I did end up meeting with Jesse and talked about the you know, the kind of the billing complaints and how he felt that went. But he also wanted, you know, I don't know, feedback on applying for the position and otherwise. So we just had an honest conversation as I could with him. You saw, you know, probably at this point, 2 different articles coverage of the Newport City Hall stuff. They were great. They gave me so much time, so much time, because they had a lot of questions. But we just went. I mean, it went pretty late. The meeting went pretty late. You know how I do. I like to play devil's advocate. I play both sides. Even though I was asking a question, I expressed that I had a number of concerns personally and professionally, but would only express those if they would also listen to me talk about all of the pros as I saw them, and they did. And you know, moved also. Because I flat stepped on it about 3 or 4 different times, that they got the message they needed to be engaged one way or the other. They do not need to be sitting with bylaws that they can't abide by. You know, they need to have their voices heard, and that was true for Spover, who was online as well. So we'll take out that. But it was a good meeting, and they asked a lot of good questions, and I felt like some of them I was really saying, hey, some of this is derivative of requests they made along the way. You know, the one, of course, was unanimous vote. What are that concerned? That was to protect Spover. So Abby, yeah, that was to protect Spover, and then Chief Stockton, yeah, that was to protect Spover. Like, this is the way we want it. You know, you can't just have, you know, a couple of chiefs or whatever somewhere steamrolling a district. So I think they got it. So anyway, that was interesting. Let's see, on the alt Q meeting, I mean, I'll give you the technical terminology, but there aren't going to be any surprises there. We had an exit conference for aging long-term care of Eastern Washington audit. The financial audit was an unmodified opinion. For internal control and compliance over financial reporting, no significant deficiencies in internal control. No material weaknesses, and no instance of non-compliance. And that audit addressed management override of controls, right? Which I think is, you know, is what we've seen pretty recently go all the way sideways. So that was a good one. And then for the federal grant compliance audit, that was about 52% of their dollars. In this pool, they also got an unmodified opinion. I say they were spotless and very easy to work with. So, and that was the major program was their Medicaid cluster. That was what they were auditing there. So take it out.
I guess that rules out the question I was going to ask, which was, and I guess I still ask it, was there any reference in the audit to dependence on relationships? And this is related to rural resources, where I think, and it had showed up as a comment in a previous all-Q audit. I'm drawing to my memory here that doing business with entities that are having financial trouble creates potential downstream impacts. Did that come up at all?
No, I mean, so you know that the exit conference really is a synopsis of what they send out, a larger packet, and I can scrub it, but they didn't say anything in that regard.
Good.
I imagine the cluster would have to involve dollars that were sent to rural resources as well, so on it downstream. But nothing specifically.
Okay.
Let's see, I did. What did we do? Tuesday we did ribbon cutting, was that Tuesday? No, that was Thursday?
It's tomorrow at 1 p.m.
No, the last ribbon cutting.
Yeah, but.
So many ribbons. That was last week, later in the week. So one of you can give an update. I was actually, I mean, you guys know I was there. I didn't stand in for the photo. It was crowded on the thing. But like some of these emails that I know I was there. I wasn't standing on the platform. I get claustrophobic in there.
My update from that was, I got 45 minutes with Andrew Engel. We had a good talk. And then Dan Bisbee and Steve Bruckman from Whiskey Bounders office came over. I came in a little hot on the Medicaid issue, and they brought the congressman over for a minute. I toned it down a little bit. It was not well received.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I thought it was, it was neat project. And one of the most beautiful spots on the river.
yeah.
It's very nice.
Is that called Z Canyon?
Yeah,
With-
they're on there.
Use the heads, you can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's taking you from there all the way to Boundary, is the canyon. So yeah, it was neat spot, neat project, and one of the few times Sandal City Light actually said their CEO for something. I don't know that I've seen her. Maybe they got a new CEO.
We were at length afterwards, CEO and their PR person, elected officials person.
Yeah.
Gave them to how they do part participate county effort.
Yeah.
Have a better, presentation in the county. I did go with and attend the tour. They gave the congressman a tour of Boundary.
Yeah.
And of course, Tim Terrell's a good friend of mine. He lived here. He's one of the council members in that league. And he was part of that group.
Yeah, may I interrupt for a minute?
Yeah.
So I had a delightful time. Somewhere in my notes, I had his wife's name also. And I asked him, okay, I said, what I told him was, I said, I was talking about you. And I said, you make a great mayor.
Yeah.
He was open to that.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Good for you, Robert. Encourage you.
Yeah.
I've done the same.
Good.
But he's busy, Yeah. Well, one of the things I said, they were talking about how they need so much more transmission capability. And to the congressman, I just said, well, maybe we should take some of this power that comes from the river here in Monterey County and is generated here in the county, instead of shipping it to Seattle and powering data centers there in Seattle, maybe we should just build one here in Korea. And they all just, we wouldn't need the transmission capacity then.
Good for you. That's good.
And then they said, well, yeah, but our responsibilities are for the people of Seattle, and this energy is reserved for. And I said, well, now listen, you're buyers and sellers of power. So you're buying from Canada, and you're selling to California. I said, it isn't just to provide energy for the people of Seattle. Your buyers for you're
a great man.
Yeah. In fact, there is not a megawatt generated from this county that makes it to Seattle. So
exactly.
It's a little bit.
Yeah. And then afterwards she said, well, you guys are pretty well informed on some of the issues. She is not. She's not informed on what's going on with Monterey. Very ill informed about even the operation of that new dam, which I was shocked at. And I guess I shouldn't be. But,
Yeah.
I mean, there were things about Boundary Dam I knew that she didn't know. As the CEO of Seattle City Light.
Yeah.
It's a different world for her.
Yeah, it's obviously some kind of a political, you know, or a hierarchy or.
She reports to the Seattle City Council.
Right.
And that's.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I enjoyed that. I maybe.
No, good for you. That was good.
That was a good meeting. You guys will see in the correspondence a email from Sam McGeorge, who is the acting mayor pro tem of Medley Falls, concerning the woman who talked to him at that event about folks speeding down through
Yeah,
the village. And I did talk to her at length. Was planning on talking to Craig about that today. So whatever we can do there to make that better, I'm thinking we need to reach out to Seattle City Light, and if there's some speed bumps or some signage that they could pay for that as part of the project.
Sure.
If there's any money left
Sure.
in the project as far as the impact to that community, I can see people probably are going to be speeding right through there. A lot more traffic. Because I see a lot more people over there.
Although certainly through the construction and then the ribbon cutting, that'd be the very worst of it.
Exactly.
Boy, it's not gonna be a whole lot, you know.
Yeah.
They'll still be too fast, count on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there was some houses as I came out after I talked to her. I looked at her house and there's a couple houses that are right on the street.
Oh.
And, you know, I can see the kids are playing in the yard.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an adjustment. So anyway, I'm on top of that. So you guys know.
In my Padre County Fair report, I really didn't do much. I just kind of walked around, had a few people say hi. I didn't get in, I don't think I had one long discussion. It was just very, just kind of taking it all in.
Enjoy the new gravel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
Let's see, beyond that, I had two more Wasatch policy statement discussions. What was it? We also did law and justice. And then we did the human. This is the all counties see guidance for Wasatch staff when they write a bill or have to answer the question, does Wasatch support a bill or not? Then this is the document they turn to say, are all 39 counties okay with this? Kind of like, do I have permission to engage on this sort of thing? So it ends up being a lot of in-between language. You know, oh, we like local control, we hate unfunded mandates, a lot of that universal type stuff, and then a ton of wordsmithing. So, I'll spare you the details other than to say a couple of rural counties in there that are making sure we're not steamrolled, and that's our function there. So, and then beyond that, I did that coffee with a cop. I guess that one was Thursday morning because it was the day Steve was here. Steve was there. Newport's new sergeant, I think, was there. And then it was very well attended for Leo type folk and
What is Leo mean?
law enforcement officers.
Oh, okay.
We had Fish and Wildlife, Border Patrol, City Police, County, and I might be missing. I had a tribal guy there. No. Oh, and we had a Washtenaw guy there as well, a Washtenaw patrols, which was actually nice because they have some resources that we're missing. I think the sheriff said that our speed trailer is down. Hasn't got a quote on that, but they may be able to do some patrols. They certainly had a discussion, which Sonia was there, the discussion around, the logging trucks coming through IO there. And were there ways to put crews from the county and from the state there and start clocking those guys. There was maybe 5 or 6 people from the public there. There's maybe more than that, 7, 8 people, over the morning, and the coffee shop was busy. Like, we really had to raise our voices upstairs, but, upstairs room, and had to really raise our voices to be heard, like, this place was hopping. So, anyway, it was interesting, and Steve Brooklyn was handing out this pocket constitution, advocacy cards, so.
Excuse me, I forgot one. And Hilda's spaced this out. I own city council, town council meeting.
Oh, yeah.
The EMS part of it was fine. They listened, asked very good questions. And they did pass the loan of $50,000 to Medellin. The hottest, and it got pretty hot, part of the discussion was logging trucks. And her name is Paula Sturba, one of the town council members. Logging trucks are gonna kill somebody. And she was like, we are putting in speed bumps. I mean, and we're gonna slow these things down. I mean, that discussion took half the meeting. It was, people got hot about it.
Yeah, no, they're upset about all the trucks going through there. Mostly, a couple of council live right on those routes.
I think she does.
Yeah, she does, right at the intersection there. I noticed it during my working vacation. Our little cabin was literally 75 feet from the way. There is incredible not walk trucks on the road, right? And especially starting at about 3 in the morning.
So I was gonna say, they're earlier than when the sheriff was showing up in town.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, they're rolling through.
There's literally, when those guys go to work, there's no sheriff.
Yep.
Working.
Yep.
And so they head out, because I was waking up and I look out my window and see, there's no vehicles on that highway between midnight and 5 a.m. except log trucks. I mean, just almost none. But at about 3, you can hear it start coming by. And then about, 6, 5:30, they're coming back loaded. And I mean, there's just a lot. And hundreds. Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I did not know it was that many.
Yeah, and so that, it's an impact. Plus, some people gotta get used to.
Yeah. No, that's a working reality.
It would be nice for Ione, especially, everything else work. Of course, doesn't eliminate the problem, it moves it somewhere else. You're still gonna get complaints then from those folks, but less so. You have a lot less people you're going to come by.
Right. I meant, meeting that a little late, so it was already kind of dark, and I meant to go try and look at what Paula Sturba was talking about. She had one particular stop sign.
Yes.
He said, all those logging trucks just blow through it, and it's just a matter of time before they'll T-bone somebody in. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know what she was talking about.
I know where she's talking about. It's right literally by her house. It's at that corner.
Oh.
They blow through it, maybe rolling through it, because you can see a long ways both directions.
At 3 in the morning, you see the headlights for half a mile.
And
They're not the T-bone anywhere.
hill, Robert, where it's a hill like this.
Okay.
And I mean, you can see both directions really well there.
Okay.
Are they blowing through it? I mean, you could go to a lot of intersections and find that 90 people have 100 roll through them. So I would not like to see what they're doing there, myself, put my own eyes on it. And I know Glenn did park there for a while. And the guy he pulled over did blow that stop sign.
Oh.
And then he followed him and then pulled him over out on the highway. So everybody.
Well, I will tell you, Brian, because it may be something that you're not city, but maybe something that you have occasion to message. The state guy said they put their unmarked vehicles in there, but they won't tell you when they did.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. They don't want people, finding out who their guy is. But they sort of indicate that they've had unmarked rig and they're tracking it from time to time.
Yeah.
They are they are hearing the concerns and they are doing something about it, but the
Yeah.
trouble with an unmarked is nobody thinks you don't.
Yeah. My other observation of the IO meeting was, I think their clerk's name is John Cook.
Yeah, Tom Cannon.
Okay. He does a great job.
He does an
He has a
awesome
great
job.
job, but it is, he's
very
professional, really good.
Yeah, yeah. He's excellent, smart, learning.
Oh, one final, well, I have a few things I'll circulate to you. This is the Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 spokesman review. Front page, we're at that point of critical collapse on ambulance EMS. In context of the section. Lord of all of them.
I put a sticker on that passage, in the blue folder, on that passage of the billing codes. And you guys can read the whole thing, I definitely recommend reading the whole thing. You read that paragraph, and it's kind of dismissive, it bothered me. And I did the weed board on Wednesday as well. They approved their budget for presentation to the commissioners, which even though it was several days late, I think 3, 4, 5, I don't know, is weeks and a month or two ahead of. It's too tight of a window for them. It really is. It's almost an unreasonable ask. But this will be the earliest they've actually had an opportunity to see it, digest it, and vote on it. Really in time for us to take a look at it. So they are making market progress there. There are some alarming things in the budget, and that's really because of their billing cycle. It's I do want to say, Brian, this is one. I mean, it's for everybody, but this is one I finally got the clarity I was looking for around what it was they were looking for in the RFQ that maybe somebody didn't provide.
Okay.
What they have is completely independent of this contract for Flowering Rush and how that has to go. They have an RCO grant that starts on July 1st, and the RCO grant allows them, they get a 100% match for everything they spend after July 1st. RCO will up to a certain amount, but it's a big amount. And so they have this window where they love to do Flowering Rush ahead of that, but it's all backloaded. So they need somebody with a lot of boats who can get out. Basically, they need everybody, both companies, and then some. It's kind of their message is there are, depending on how slow their board moves or how long it takes Dolly to approve the contract or whatever else, they might have a couple of weeks to do all of their Flowering Rush stuff, and they want all hands on deck. And so that's kind of, and I said, well, you guys need to start getting some of that in the RFQs. We need to be clear about that. It's a valid reason because it cuts their costs, or I mean, the revenue we're talking about is significant. But I couldn't get my head around it. Why is it that the number of boats seems to be so important, and it's ultimately when and where they're putting in the water, they need the flexibility to either dump 20 boats in there or 2 boats in there, depending on how their timelines shook out. So I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but the RCO grant starts July 1.
Great.
And then they get reimbursed 1-to-1.
Was there any discussion in the meeting, any indication that some of the concerns that were raised during our previous meeting about how fair and equitable the bid process was, that people said, well, we'll submit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, they really had, careful in there because I'm out of my lane, and they have their own board, and Dolly isn't actually legal representation for them, and so her message to me is shut up and stay out of it. Just the same, I'm a liaison to that group and between the public and that group, and clearly expressed to them, listen, I didn't care yet. Perfectly good reasons or terrible reasons didn't even matter to me. It should be clear reasons. Everybody should know how the decisions are made. And so that was my message, is just if there's some hidden metric or just be too clear, too long-winded, too whatever else, lay it all out there. Because that's what people want to know. And they have a right to know. Yeah. The reason, it's clear, we had an opportunity, contractors beating each other up over price, which is exactly what we want. On our side, we want that competitive bid process, and, did they get in the way of that? Potentially. So it's like, no, let's clean it up.
Got it.
And if those contractors want to outbid each other, then everyone benefits.
Amen.
Where did we receive this document from, guys? It says that the received to the county commissioners August 21st.
So I don't know who brought it up for you, Olga.
Jesse did.
Okay. Yeah, and it was,
And this is supposed to say excerpt instead of except.
I have no idea.
Okay. So they've had this email since April downstairs.
so the whole process started in April. And that was actually one of the points Jesse was making. This wasn't a recent development. They've been having this conversation with those 4 small counties. They've been investigating those 4 small counties for a little while, for high administrative costs. And so it kind of predated some of this other stuff, specifically like, we had conversations about having a tripod arrangement to run public works,
Right.
those sorts of things. This kind of predated that. It's been an abiding conversation with Kraft. And basically they asked for, they asked for some information. It's my understanding that Christie furnished a lot of that information. And when they had an opportunity to parse those numbers, they feel that our administrative costs are high in public works.
Yeah. Administrative costs for small counties are going to be high, period. and So this was brought to your guys' attention last week by this being brought up.
So when I met with Jesse, he had a portion of that, but the written portion, like the written ruling, and in the context of billing, I could see how that might be technically accurate. And this is, of course, probably a conversation best had with Christie and Jill, frankly.
Okay, is Jill here this week? John,
No,
What's
she's
that?
vacation.
Jill's not here.
Could not hear this week, correct. So in the context of billing, how it might be, and I can certainly have my opinion moved one way or another, but for them to do that without understanding the job description or how we were using the public works director, as far as we were concerned, he was in charge of roads and has been for a long, long time, right? Better than 2 decades. And so that's kind of a broad brush stroke.
This, I'll just speak bluntly, this appears to show the public works director to be kind of operating at the behest and under the county engineer.
Right.
And frankly.
Well, independent. They're like, he doesn't even have anything to do with roads. Don't want to hear public works director.
Frankly, I'm not surprised then that the public works director made a hasty exit.
Yeah.
I would do the same in the present conditions. Yeah.
No, it's broken.
It's absolutely broken.
Yeah, it's broken.
And so
And it's,
the answer to that is hell no.
well, so listen, that's where I started, but we've already made the choice for combining the positions. And so if it can go that way, it will go that way.
Right.
What I will say is we're coming to a place where I'd like kind of a determination around the RCW, which leads into the billing, frankly, between Dolly, Jill, and Christie, and saying, can we have a final determination
Right.
where it's tough? Because for them to say county engineers in charge of roads, average of county engineer. And the RCW does not preclude that.
It has to do with the building more than anything.
In this case, yes.
For them to say that the public works director serves no county road purpose.
They have to read our job description.
Exception to that thing.
Listen, that smacks of an engineer writing that whole thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Full stop. That's an engineer writing. And so, yeah, are we picking a fight? And in some regard, yes, we are. Here's the trouble I have with it. You could be the best engineer in the world. It doesn't mean you're good at managing people.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're good with budgets. It doesn't mean you're good with politics, which is a very real part of the job, right? So there's a lot that goes into that. What they told me at ECOG is that Crab does not have that settled amongst themselves.
That's what
It just depends on who you're talking to. Yeah. And so I don't understand the title.
That's what I don't either. Is there a message that I'm not getting there?
No, it's an odd way of expressing. I wonder if it was a spelling or something. Yeah, maybe. Susan. No, no. I mean, the message, of course, is just a heads up, you might be hearing from just around.
Right. Okay, sorry, one more. I did participate in a visioning exercise with a number of people from City of Newport, Dave Smith from the school district, Andy Walters from the library, Phyllis Cardos was on there, Alice Tisco, Mayor Campbell, Alex Stanton, Newport Creative District, on bringing, in some fashion, the Spokane Symphony Orchestra to Newport and the school district. It was a very nice discussion. County funds requested, so,
Where would they play? Like in the park or something, or?
I don't think we ever got to that other than probably at the school itself.
Yeah, so.
It's a nice discussion.
I just remind you guys, remember, Hoot Owl rules, what they call Hoot Owl rules, it's industrial fire rules, stage 2, whatever, loggers call them Hoot Owl. It requires those guys to be out of the woods by about 1 in the afternoon. Right now. So they really don't have a choice about starting the crew in, right? But again, to the last guy out, it's gonna be like a mid. And that would be like the trucks will all be gone by then. So, and even when they're not officially in Hoot Owl, it is appropriate for those guys to act like they are when it's close to fire season, and most of the logging crews pretend like they're officially in when it starts getting dry.
Sure.
So, they just imagine, of course, hey, it's getting dry, we're going to the valley. That's partly why it's possible problem.
Right.
People are like, why do they go with trade? Well, they have to.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah. And it is significantly less fire danger in the middle of the night than it is in the afternoon when it's really hot, right?
That- Meetings that could be. Like they should have a different word for that.
My excuse, is I went to my Aunt Ruth's birthday party this weekend, and she turned 105. As sharp as a tack.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And if you think I can argue, she will argue. all
That is
the time.
amazing.
But she writes, we speak German and Hebrew, so I'm a little bit conflicted language right now. She got me back in the old mode. Yeah, she's amazing.
I'm hoping things have dulled a little for me by the time I'm done. I don't want to be sharp. Goodness.
We played a guest out there. Oh, please. All right.
Thank you. I'm good, thank you. Keep working.
April spelled STLLING, and then the land agent with DFW. Okay, thank you.
Just a few seconds. In case there's a wave of people coming in to be entertained by your update.
We had it on our calendars. They got up early. Don't want to be late.
Pass these around. It's the same information I emailed as well.
Yeah.
Okay, we're half past. Mike, I'll tell you, we've got the Newport Miner on, the Selkirk Sun on, and then of course, well, just a quick round of introductions. John Dillon, County Commissioner for District One.
Brian Smiley, Oreille County Commissioner, District 3.
Robert Rosencrantz, Pondere County Commissioner, District 2.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm Mike Tuttle Jr. I'm the Eastern Region Director for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife.
I'm April Spellinger, land agent for DFW Region 1.
And I'm Becky Kessler, the landowner.
All your time.
All right, well, good morning, commissioners. I appreciate your time this morning. So we're here today to talk a little bit about a property that we have a willing seller here that's reached out to the Department of Fish and Wildlife here in Palm Beach County. It's adjacent to our current Russell's Gulch unit of the Sherman Creek Wildlife Area. And first thing I wanted to say is that this is really early in the process. So this is just indicating that we're interested. Doesn't mean we've even talked funding or sought funding or anything like this. This is just an outreach meeting today to let you all know that we're thinking about this. It's part of what we call our Lands 2020 process, and that's a process that we've had internally for decades now, where the department does outreach with local jurisdictions, tribes, and the public to get their input on potential land acquisitions. And then we also go through a quite rigorous internal process, look at any potential acquisitions to make sure that they meet the goals of why we would acquire lands. And those are, number one, to provide benefits to fish and wildlife, provide benefits for the public in terms of recreational access primarily, and then just to ensure that we are operating well as an agency. And so in this case, this property came up as a potential option for us to consider. As I said, Becky reached out to us and indicated that they were interested in selling. One of the things that we typically try to do is ensure that if we seek to add any land to our portfolio, so to speak, is that it's close to our existing lands, either directly adjacent or relatively close, just to make it easier to manage. So I'll give you a quick overview about the project, and you will have the maps there too if you're interested. It's just a little over 230 acres. There are a lot of different habitat types on the property, so it's very intriguing to us from that standpoint. The west branch of the Little Spokane River runs right through the property. So you have aquatic habitat, riparian habitat, and wetlands at full gamut there. There's a non-motorized trail system on the property, so that would support recreational access, basically be turnkey in that regard, and it actually links into a lot of our existing trails on the wildlife area. Lots of variation in topography. There's rock outcroppings, waterfalls, mature trees, springs, creeks. There's an artesian spring on the site, which would be very beneficial for us, just from a habitat standpoint and potentially for hatchery operations down the road if we need it. A water right, those are always difficult to come by. Lots of different wildlife species and habitats present on the site, and I'll let Becky describe that a little bit in her experience there. And then we could also have a potential new public access site off of Nicholson Road, and it could be big enough to allow for horse trailers and stuff like that to park, so it'd be a real benefit for people who enjoy horseback riding is one example. Could also do cross-country skiing, lots of different activities potentially in the winter time there. Like I said, we'd be looking to potentially, if this process in trying to purchase this that we have has multiple steps, it'll wrap up in December after we get the public input and tribal input and whatnot. And then our director signs off on a list of projects that are approved. And so we don't even seek funding until that process is completed and we've been given the green light. One of the other things I wanted to stress is we would pay payment in lieu of taxes on this, just like we already do on other lands that we have here in Oreille County. And then we have a maintenance fund that the legislature established. So when we acquire new lands now, there's actually dedicated funding for operations and maintenance, which is a big benefit. We didn't have that in the past. That's been a concern for many counties, so I wanted to stress that point. That we have that funding mix are actually incorporated into the whole process. And so I was going to give Becky an opportunity now if she wanted to describe the property and kind of her interest in potentially working with WDFW.
Sure. So when we purchased the property, we were just really in awe of how beautiful it is. And we felt like, how can any one person own this? I've never seen a privately owned property that is like this one. It's unique in many ways. And so the more exploring we've done, the more features, the more things we've found, the more habitats we've found. We've put up game cameras even, and we've seen moose and black bear.
Oh,
We've seen whitetail, like, it's a more than 5 times a day, they're setting off the cameras for the whitetail. It's, I mean, I've been down to the river, the west branch of the Little Spokane. There is an existing bridge, that's permitted. It's already in place. It's a really nice bridge, easy to cross. The artisanal spring up at the top, it already has a fish propagation water right on it, which was really surprising to us. That's just something we dug up and found during closing. And so, and I've tested the water, and we can, have a accredited lab tested also, but the water is safe for drinking. It's just straight from the ground. And so it's amazing. Yeah. The way I look at it is it's almost like untouched wilderness aside from the trails that have been put in there. And that was put in by the previous family. The previous family that owned it, they've owned it for decades, a very long time. I'm sorry, I forget what year they've had it since, but I know they've had it for decades. And all they had was the trail system in there, and they would be able to get around to the rock outcroppings. There's a cave in there. There's it's really neat. At the top of that rock outcropping, there's a vista view of the Little Spokane and the mountains around it. And then if you cross the bridge to the other side, you have a vista view of Oreille Lake. And so I've been down to the river, and it's running strong. I haven't caught any fish or seen any fish, but I'm sure there's some in there somewhere. I feel like it's such a special place with it being an untouched wilderness of sorts, because nobody's been on it. This family has just let it sit. They used to hunt it in the 60s, and then that's it. One of the sons just maintained the trails, and that's it. And so there's we saw a Pacific yew on our site visit there. So there's a Pacific yew on the property. A tree, it's a rare tree, uncommon, shouldn't say rare, but an uncommon tree. So there's a lot of features and things on that property, and I'm finding more and more every time I go out there and explore. And so I just feel like with it touching Rustler's Gulch, it has the opportunity to be able to open up to the public and let them enjoy this property. And so I don't know. I like it. I'll keep it, but I mean, if the public can enjoy it and use it and hunt off of it, that would be really nice. That would be great.
What was your intent in purchasing the property?
So, my husband and I, we're always looking for properties to use, and sometimes we'll put a house on it and resell it. This one had enough acreage. We just see the ad online. We didn't see it in person. And our intent that day was, well, maybe we'll split it and put some houses on it. But then when we got there, we were just, our mouths were flopped open the whole time. We just couldn't believe how I'd been back there to see what was there. And I don't know, I get goosebumps thinking about how pretty and how many resources there are on the property, and the habitats that are there, and all the wildlife that's there. And I just feel like it should be more of a public setting.
So if WDFW acquired it, would you retain any rights and the property after that acquisition?
No.
Okay, all right. I mean, like a lifetime estate to go.
I mean, if it's public access, I'm the public. I can go.
Okay, all right.
Go explore if I wanted to.
All right.
So.
Cool. Great. Very public-minded gesture.
So there wouldn't be any additional restrictions on its use other than what is normal for that wildlife area. It would be utilized in the same way as the rest of the wildlife area.
That's what we already do with Rustler's.
Yeah, that's what you're proposing.
That'd be the intent.
Yeah,
Just expanding to the
just
existing
expanding,
footprint.
and it would be rolled into the same kind of management criteria that you.
Exactly, it would just fall under the same
Okay.
existing management plan.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me, use the word maintenance, what does that mean to you?
The biggest one that we hear concerns about is noxious weeds. So that's one of the ones that we cover. And then there's also one of the things that we've really been working on the last decade or so is forest management. So trying to keep fuel loads down and ensure that the forests are healthy. So that can include thinning, prescribed fires, things like that.
So, can you nail that down for me? It's trying and then there's keeping fuel loads down, right?
Yeah, I would say on our lands, we're doing a pretty good job of that
Okay.
overall.
Okay.
And part of that is we're a lot smaller scale than the federal lands, just to be transparent. I know that's a major challenge.
Yeah, you bet it is.
Yeah, but we've intentionally been doing a lot of prescribed fires, especially on our lands up here in Northeast Washington. In fact, we just did a trust land transfer with DNR to get 40 acres that was in holding within that wildlife area.
Yeah,
And that was part of the intent, is then we just managed it the same that way.
and that actually benefits your higher priority of wildlife.
Exactly, oh yeah. Yeah, if you manage the fuel loads and you
Keep the
get
fuel
new
loads.
habitat,
Yeah.
you get new regrowth, and so there's tremendous wildlife habitat benefits there too.
But this particular parcel looks to me like it's got a lot of riparian and a lot of,
Yep.
A lot of diverse,
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of upland kind of fire hazard stuff.
Yep.
But
Well, speaking frankly, one of the things we balance commissioners and otherwise as a county is, it was for decades, lock it up and let it burn, was the Forest Service essentially. And it's been proven the closer you get to the federal level, the less, I'm gonna call it ROI, but, the less productive those lands are, in some regard. So does WDFW have you ever done a community benefit arrangement when you've taken on lands? Because I'd be very interested in, saying horse trails, but for you to say, yeah, there's a lot of things we could do with it versus making that a reality. Would you guys consider pinning your intent?
Yeah, we certainly could. I mean, that's covered in the wildlife area plan, and then we have an advisory board for each of the wildlife areas, so the public has opportunity to provide input and kind of guide how we manage each of these sites.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can you show me on the map where Pomeroy County Section 16 is? I know it butts up to the wildlife area there. I can't think of it right now where it's at. I thought maybe it was this, but I think it's further up here.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You're not sure where it's
I'll
at?
have to.
Is it section 16?
Yeah, I was gonna get my phone, but I didn't want to be rude. It looked like I was playing on my phone, so.
Oh, yeah. Read anything on that.
Yeah.
Sitting right on top of it.
I can follow up on that if you.
Yeah,
like.
I'm just curious which one it is. It's one of those on the edge. It would be the eastern edge that the county's parcel owns there, that section. It would be I believe the northeastern edge.
Okay.
And I know there's folks that access that. Through there. So I'm just curious, 'cause you guys have a gate back up down where this is. It looks really interesting. It's like a lot of wetlands, right?
There's
Yeah.
a lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a lot of it, and that's one of the things that's pretty unique about it. You don't often get an opportunity to get a property like that with all those habitat values.
But that goes both ways. Like devil's advocate, you don't, we don't. We as in, the rest of the people on the planet, and I'm speaking for one commissioner. Does WDFW have a threshold? 2/3 of our county is state and federal forest land. 2/3 is just completely unbuildable. So really what we're talking about is a homeowner or property owner, and your rights should trump all, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. But a homeowner saying this is off limits for everyone forever, except for whatever arrangement you have, there. To make a decision that crosses everybody else, the homes, the subdivisions, all of it, frankly. How much is too much? How much is not enough? I mean, I know it's a very big question, but is that guiding, like some of your board decisions?
So we don't have an actual number specified anywhere to be upfront,
Sure.
and we get that question in other counties too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a valid question. How much is enough? I would say my response would be it depends on the property and what values it provides. And that's why we're interested in this. I mean, it's quite an opportunity. And I'm not sure what the regulations would be in terms of the county with critical areas ordinance and whatnot, what you could even do development wise there. But that would be my retort.
In my mind, there's appropriate and highest and best use. When we look at land management, there's land that is highly appropriate for timber production, highly appropriate to be managed for timber, highly appropriate for recreation, highly appropriate for wildlife, highly appropriate for residential. In my mind, and one of the problems with Monterey County, one of the reasons we're so high in public lands is a lot of our lands are not appropriate for, I'll just be blunt. That's one of the reasons.
It's availability. I mean, in some regard, the best ability is availability. And you can look at that map and cross 2/3 of it out. What have you got left, right?
Yeah.
So I know you're here. I know you're here, and you're here with us and with the people, so you get it. But it's just always kind of a guardrail for us.
Sure.
Is as you can very well see, we develop right down the spine that follows the river. If boy, you get too far east or west of that, and you're climbing.
Yep.
And so the cost to build makes it. That doesn't happen either. But just some food for thought and to have that in your considerations as you're having the discussions. I would, love to see, if it was kind of all of the above, if the trails were developed and we were actually getting people in there.
Oh, I think you will. The trails are already developed.
Right.
They're incredible. And so I work a lot with the horse riding groups, bare bones and all them. They're getting ready to do all their rides. And I was thinking about that as I was going, and they use Rustler's Gold all the time. So
Yes.
this continuation, they'd be in heaven, with this opportunity to be able to do their endurance rides and whatnot through there. We toured it with the side-by-side thing. There was tons of space and the trails were really well done, well maintained. And as far as building on it, because I was thinking about that too, it'd be very difficult to actually build. You could do one house maybe
At the top.
yeah, and that's about it. So it's because I think about that too, and we think about that too.
And-
We get people that come up and they just have flat out land that's straight and it's not near water, it's not near our property, and we're like, thank you. It doesn't fit in with what we're going to do for the wildlife and habitat. So
Perfect.
On the Sherman Creek Wildlife Area, and I should know this already, is that motorized use year round? What are the criteria for the use of that? Varied?
Good question. I would need to go back and I had to get that, but I will do that for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious. I know for a parcel that size, let's say it was non-motorized, you're starting to get to the size where you're going to attract people with horses because they want something that somebody can't walk to the center, and that's what they're looking for. And the more you can expand that, the more that is actually an attraction to a certain segment. I think part of it is motorized for
Correct.
yes.
Didn't want to speak out of turn.
And I think for some of the year, the gates are locked and it's
Yeah,
on.
well, winter time, I'm sure they are,
Yeah.
just for wildlife one range purposes.
Okay.
Is
Yeah,
there
I'm curious about that.
ever a process where you might put land back in circulation? This ranch, only returns one way, and it's not just you. That's why I hope you understand.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like if you said, this isn't checking the boxes we thought it was, and it's just not what we thought it was.
We've done that a few times in the past. I mean, not since I've been regional director, but I'm aware it has happened.
Okay.
we do.
There's
We have a
one in
list.
Lincoln County
Yeah.
that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Land we know.
Yeah, the only concern I would have, from my perspective, I have no problem with removing that land from future development. And for highest, because I feel like that is the highest and best use. The only concern I would have is be removing lands from timber production and not managing them in an appropriate way, and that where they're departed from what they would be existing. And, you know, I would like to just encourage you guys to continue to, this part of our culture here, I feel, and that, you know, if we were, and that's one of the problems with the federal lands, is when you look at it as a whole, they need to do a better job of that. And, you know, they're trying, I understand the economies of scale are incredible, but to me, as long as we're continuing that, and I suspect if we went and looked at this, it's a lot of riparian, a lot of wetland, not a lot of timber production anyway.
No.
Under current DNR rules, there would be almost none there. I can tell by looking at the map. And so that would be my concern.
Lots of rock,
A lot of rocks, yeah,
Lots of
lots of water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
exquisite. It really is so, so beautiful.
You mentioned the tribe. Does that relate to or a tribe as it relates to fish passage?
There's that, and then, so state lands are considered open and unclaimed lands, and then tribes can actually go and exercise treaty rights on those lands, so that's part of it too. And then they may have concerns about cultural resources that might be on the site, and so that's why we always are upfront with them about any potential acquisition too, and they're free to provide us input, and we take that into consideration as well.
And does this have the potential to, I'm thinking about the downstream discussions that have been occurring around fish passage to Spokane. Does this have the potential to shift that dynamic, or would it all be part of the same ongoing conversation?
Well, I don't see a change in what's happening right now. It's definitely the same watershed, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, this would just be an opportunity to conserve some fish and wildlife habitat and then provide public recreation. And I don't see it shifting the broader salmon recovery discussion at all, though.
All right.
You don't think our salmon are gonna travel there? Loaded question.
Oh, yeah.
They never came up upon Grace, so that.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I know that.
Just had a conversation last week.
Yeah. I wanted you
Yet
guys
they're
to know
building a
that I
fish
know.
ladder on Mountain Dam.
And I'm sure your riparian zones are in great shape through that whole puzzle, frankly, so there's not gonna be anything changing in there. Okay, well, we certainly appreciate, you know, I mean, the opportunity and, you know, staying abreast of these things, so.
Sure.
Thank you for being in here and, making us aware.
Yes.
And then moving forward, your scoping or whatever else, is that, a public process as well, that you said?
It is, yes. So let's see here. The public comment and tribal review will be in October. And then the final decision by our director would be in December. And so once that's completed, then I would follow up with you and let you know that, hey, it received the green light for us to go ahead. And then what happens is it stays in the hopper, so to speak, for up to 7-year period. And then we go out and try to seek funding and actually close on the acquisition at that point in time.
And is
I'll
that,
certainly keep you guys apprised of where things are at.
is that part of the capital budgeting process that it goes into?
It can be. A lot of our funding comes from the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program. And so some of that has federal funding from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and then there's state funding in there as well and other sources.
Also the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, they're keen on this one
Potentially,
too.
some NGOs may
Makes it.
contribute as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of a pass the hat thing and whatever makes sense. It's for a particular.
You know, basically it says goes into that pool, it still could be many years before the
Oh, yeah.
acquisition.
Yeah, so
takes
to be clear, this isn't imminent by any means. This
Yeah.
is like the first step of the process.
Yeah,
And there could be many steps. So,
okay,
I mean, especially when you look at the way budgets are going right now, I don't even want to try to predict where things are going to be next year.
right.
Sure.
But we're going to continue following our process and then we'll adjust as needed going forward.
Okay, well, I
Okay.
appreciate being in the loop on this one, so.
Sure.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you guys for the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wanna go look at the property sometime.
I know, the way she's describing it.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
it sounds
field
really
trip, no.
special.
Well, so I'll offer to you guys, if you're interested, we could try to set up a field tour of the
We are.
existing wildlife
Yes.
area unit and this property if you're willing.
Yeah, no, I would like to see a tour of the larger area.
Yeah.
At some point, and especially with how it relates to our county land, it butts up to
And you
it.
know Darrow, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could drag him along. He
Yeah.
knows a thing or two.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll try to make that happen this fall,
Great.
and that'd be a nice time of year to be out
You
there.
bet.
Okay,
Yeah.
Olga, make a note of that, our field trip.
Just don't let your husband drive.
No, I'll drive.
He drives really fast. It was fun. It was like being on a roller coaster.
You have the sheriff behind you, so be careful.
yeah, you can't drive as fast as he does. Speaking of fast driving.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you guys.
All right, well, thank you
All right,
very
thank
much.
It was good to meet you, April. Thanks for being here. Mike, good to see you.
It's good to see you as well, thank you.
Glenn, I don't know how you do it. You always come in here with a big smile and you're all happy, and I know there's
Why
stuff
not?
going on.
There is.
I know, but what can you do about
Keeps
it?
me busy.
Yeah,
Yep. Just another day in paradise.
yeah.
Even at Safeway,
Was that?
even at Safeway when I see you.
Yes. Always something going on. You can smile or you can frown, and I find
Yeah.
smiling to be just
Yeah.
better medicine. Survived the weekend over at, over on the coast. Drove over there with some friends this weekend to go get some fresh fish. So
Nice.
if you know where to go over there, you can stop by the docks and buy the fish for, we bought fresh tuna for about $4.50 a pound. You just buy the whole fish, or you can walk across the street to the actual stores and fishing establishments and get it for about $12 a pound. So make friendly with the guys on the docks.
Yeah.
They always hold a little bit for us. So
Nice.
call them a couple of days ahead of time and they tell you when they have it. It's a good time.
Where are they bringing tuna in from?
So we go over to Westport because we used to live there. So, so we stop over there and just kind of, there's a chance to just revisit the town and see where we used to live and all that.
Nice.
But, I asked them, kind of how far out they're going. They're about 50 to 60 miles offshore right now. So,
There's tuna here?
Oh, yeah.
I had no
Oh, yeah.
idea.
yeah, all off the West Coast there. So, in the past I've done, they call it a 3-day trip, but you usually leave at like between 9 and 11 o'clock at night, motor out the 50, 60 miles wherever the fish are. And then you fish all day the next day, from basically daylight until dark or until the boat's full, whichever comes first. And then you motor back in. So you're really only fishing for one day out there, but it's a blast. But I still get motion sick. So if I can buy it from the dock, I'm just as happy with that. And I can spend my time sightseeing as opposed to, donating to the fish fund. But,
Nice.
yeah, good time. I think when Brian retires from being a commissioner, you gotta keep like a doodle pad. I see him over there doodling
yeah.
and stuff all the time.
All the time.
And it's all yours.
Perfect. Perfect. To go over with you. First, just letting you know that we are prepping for the sergeant's exam for patrol, with Weston turning in his paperwork, in the not too distant past. We're starting that process so the guys know what to study and have plenty of time to study, and we can make sure that the whole process is up and ready for them, so we have an actual list by the time he actually does retire, so we can make a smooth transition of it. So that's in process as we speak. Last time I was here, I talked to you guys about some of the equipment we had purchased and some of the benefits and things that we had seen from these purchases. I've mentioned the firearms program, how we had transitioned not too long ago to the new firearms with the new red dot sighting systems. Little hard for the firearms instructor to get a true read, because we've had some people come in, we've had some people leave. We've made some changes to the corrections qualifications, so they don't shoot the old corrections qual anymore. They actually shoot the patrol qualification. So they're shooting the exact same course as what the patrol deputies are. So it was a little bit of a change for them. But overall, the best he can come up with is about a 6% increase in scores. So it's not huge, but it is definitely a noticeable amount. He said the bigger benefit is with those sights on the back, it's a little easier for guys to do some of the manipulations like jams in the gun or reloading drills, that kind of stuff. It just gives them something that's a little more secure to grab onto when they're doing those manipulation drills. So those are coming along a lot faster and smoother than they used to. So definite benefits from having the new platforms. For about the last 3.5, 4 years, we've been working on an evidence module. We've been trying to update the evidence module that we had in Spillman, and we got a new one. What is it? Pro Q, something like that. Forgotten the name of it offhand. Anyways, we just got it up and running the way it's supposed to. Got the information out to the deputies so that they know how to use the new program. The evidence custodian was out there going through a lot of the evidence and transferring it from our old system to the new system. Some of the benefits of the new system is that it actually has like a little scanner gun. So you just put little stickers on the scanner gun. It then tracks it in the computer. So it's a lot less paperwork for the deputies, and actually the evidence custodian just uses a little scanner and it tells you what the evidence is, who it belongs to, what shelf it's supposed to be on in the evidence room, and all this kind of stuff. So it really is streamlining our processes in the evidence room. Having said all that, years back, 20 some odd years ago, we had some issues with an evidence custodian that didn't keep the best records. And so we've been working with that for many, many years. When Linda was the evidence custodian, she worked very hard to get that all cleared up. And so we thought, now that we have this new evidence module, the lady that came up and trained us on it and taught us everything actually has a private consulting business, and she would like to come up and go through the entire evidence room and actually handle every single piece of evidence and make sure that everything is 100% where it's supposed to be. And if it's supposed to be destroyed, that we get it destroyed. If it's supposed to be returned to somebody, we get it returned, and just kind of, again, a 100% audit of the evidence room. I think it's a fantastic idea. It'll be the first time in at least 25 or almost 30 years that I'm aware of that there's been anything close to that done in the evidence room. So I think it's high time that it is done. And it kind of gives us that 0 point of new evidence tracking module, 100% audit, can kind of move forward with everything, at a zero base, basically. So I think the quote she gave us was about $6,000 to have that done. So Donna's going to be out of the office for a few days, but when she gets back, we're going to look through our budget and see if there's anywhere we can scrape that from our budget, and any way that we can manage to do that before this year is up, and get that done. So we'll be reviewing and looking at that. But I just think that it's kind of I don't want to say the perfect storm, but the perfect situation and timing for that kind of an audit to be done in our evidence room. So we're looking hard to get that done. I've mentioned this several times, but I keep getting questions about it regarding the Medellin investigation. Our investigation on that is complete unless there's more information that pops up from somewhere. The entire package has been handed off to the FBI. They're reviewing it. As I've told people, they have a couple of options. They can take the entire case and run with it, and it becomes their case to charge and do whatever they want with. They can review it and decide that they're only going to do part of the case and kick part of it back down to us, or they can review it and say, for whatever reason, and they can kick the whole thing down case. I have every reason to believe that they will continue with the entire case, but that could change, down the road. But there's a lot of, for whatever reason, just a lot of rumors and speculation and just weird information about this case that's out there. So I just want to let you guys know that if you hear anything, that's where it's at right now. The FBI has the case, they're reviewing it, and I've heard nothing beyond that. I'm assuming at least Brian has heard about the death up north this weekend. Kind of unusual and irregular, and I can't go into a lot of details because it's still an active investigation, but there was a homicide up at the north end this weekend, and an arrest was made. And so that will continue. A lot of it hinges off of the medical examiner and what they find as far as evidence or contributing circumstances or anything along that line. So we'll wait until they're done with their report so that we kind of know what we're dealing with and a bigger picture of what we're dealing with. So again, I think it's one of those cases that will have a lot of rumors and speculation that goes along with it for quite some time. And it's, it'll make a big stir at the north end, especially for a while, but it has been just
already is.
Oh, I can imagine. So,
Yeah.
But anyways, like I said, the basic investigation's been completed. We're waiting for the medical examiner for any supporting information and to dig deeper. There's still follow-up interviews and some other stuff that can go on, but we're kind of where we need to be at this point with that investigation. I talked to Ben from maintenance this morning. He's working on a couple of small projects for us. I just wanted to pass on a huge thank you and kudos to them. They recently were helping us in the evidence room, and we needed some more gun lockers or gun racks, I guess, to keep guns securely stored. They did a fantastic job. They came up with a great concept idea, how to maximize the efficiency and the use of the space that we have. Designed and built some security racks.
Kudos necessary. He enjoyed that project.
Oh, I'm sure he did. But
you'll be a gun cabinet.
Yeah, but they did a fantastic job of it, and Sierra, the evidence custodian, was extremely happy.
We want some photos now, Glenn.
We can make that happen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, just good job to them. I know that they get caught up in a lot of projects and stuff like that, and they just, it's part of their job. It's just what they do. But they definitely did a fantastic job for us on that. Cool. And the only other thing I had was, I look forward to seeing you gentlemen this afternoon when we do some recognitions to some of our employees. I understand that one of them still will not be here. She's going to be out of the area, so is not able to make it. But as far as I'm aware, the rest of them will be here. I got kind of second, third-hand information this morning that there's potential that Congressman Baumgartner's office may be represented this afternoon as well. So we'll wait and see how that works out. But it'll basically be some recognition from the congressman's office, as well as some internal recognitions from our administration. So looking forward to doing that and recognizing people for extraordinary jobs well done. And those were the topics I had for you. Just like I said, a handful of pretty quick and easy topics.
Okay, questions for the sheriff?
Under the broad heading of kind of consolidation of efforts to contribute to financial sustainability, drone policy is under discussion. And to ask a fairly narrow question, are you satisfied, non-committal, concerned about the direction that discussion is taken between IT and Public Works and your office, if it's even occurring at a level that makes it to you?
So I've not been directly involved in a lot of the detailed conversations, although I know that there are conversations occurring. What I can tell you is that we have applied for a grant to be able to get some drones for the sheriff's office, which would then be an asset for search and rescue, and I'm sure many other things for the county. So it's definitely a topic that we need to discuss and need to have an overall policy regarding, who, when, where, how, all of those details. For me, my bigger concern, knowing that we can work things out at a countywide level, is making sure that we have a drone policy and training for our staff that will be operating those drones. because we have to make sure we're licensed and following all, program, RCWs and everything else that's associated with that. So that's my bigger concern. Again, knowing that with the road crew having and some others, you know, we want to make sure that we're united and have an overall county policy for it. But my particular concern is just making sure that we as an agency have what we need to keep us protected.
Right, and that's important, and it's also, speaking as one commissioner, to kind of take a slightly bigger picture, or a dramatically bigger picture, that there's no duplication of effort or cost occurring, and that the allocation of resources is occurring in an optimal way. And I mean, I understand that law enforcement and search and rescue have discrete functions that may suggest discrete operational tactics to them.
Correct.
And I also understand that at some point, the budget only stretches so far, and if you're allocating resources that are reflected in the budget, it pushes the budget to a point that it may not be sustainable.
Right.
So,
yeah. And so my concern on that would be, the training and licensing would be something that we would handle through our office or would look at. The drones themselves, the grant that we've applied for is 100% grant for the items. So there wouldn't be any county output as far as the equipment itself, at least initially. Obviously, there's maintenance and that kind of stuff down the road and all that. But again, making sure that our folks are licensed and compliant with all regulations.
right. And I hear you, and I don't mean to be argumentative, but you know what and that is sort of a coherent approach from the sheriff's office. And what I'm thinking is, yeah, and if Josh Shelton winds up getting requests from the sheriff's department, well, help us out on the kind of mapping part of this. And it's really not confined to the sheriff's department, and there's a
Right.
spillover into a cost to IT.
Right.
So to be continued.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we want to be good partners with the county.
I know.
So we will work on that.
Got a couple more.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit of just an information seeking question. Did you purchase ammunition from Ponderay Ballistics?
No.
Done?
No. And I can expand on that a little bit if you'd like.
I'd love it.
So they have approached me a number of times since they established their business and have asked. My concern, whether it's for practice ammunition or for duty ammunition, is I need to make sure that the quality control is there, that it's safe, that it's reliable. And so I've kind of been monitoring over the last couple of years. Now, they reached out to me earlier this year, and again, we're making the pitch that they have good quality available ammunition. And then they expressed to me a couple of other contracts that they have with law enforcement related agencies. So I've been reaching out to those other agencies to find out what their experience has been. Has the ammunition been affordable? Has it been reliable? Have they had any issues getting the ammunition? You know, those types of things. So I've got some of the replies back. I don't have all of the replies back, but I really have no issue with buying. I would actually prefer to buy locally if I could. But a couple of things with what we have now. The company that we use, we've got a long-standing 25, 30-year relationship with them. So we already get a very good price on ammunition. It's readily available to us, and it has a long track history of being quality ammunition. So it's hard to jump away from that unless there's a compelling. And again, I would like to buy it locally if I can. I just want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence in checking the things that I need to check off for that. So.
Got it. Final one. You can expand or not expand on this if you wish. On my mind, since our previous discussion, has been the intersection between the investigators and the crime data analysts, if that's the correct term, and how the value is created for the people of the county by your department having assets that allow you to pursue resolution or prevention or intervention of crimes that may be occurring. And as that relates to how much money is this going to cost? So that's just on my mind.
Yeah, and we're working on that. So there's several possible scenarios that can work out with that. So initially, our first take on that, or our first look at that, was what does it cost us for the analysts to just hire them outright? And all of the associated training and equipment. And so we're finding sources specific to the training and equipment where there might be grant funding or low cost cost, opportunities to get that. So we're still exploring some of those. The staff, themselves, what is it gonna cost, and is there any way that we could have take a patrol position and so, you know, looking at creative things like that, is there cost sharing we can do with other agencies or entities? Is there grant funding to help pay for, you know, that position? And again, I think I'd already mentioned, we had found a grant source. It's a federal source, 100% funded for 2 years. But then with the new language, with the immigration issues on there, that's a non-negotiable item. And just kind of on a side note, I passed that information to our representatives, our senator, and also to Congressman Baumgartner's office. We quickly received a follow-up from Congressman Baumgartner's office, his lead legal counsel, and they were requesting what was the grant, what was the specific language. They wanted details on this, so they're going to start addressing it on their side of things. So because my administrative assistant, Dawn, had been working on that, she knew which grant and all that information. She was going to communicate directly with them to share that. But ultimately, for me, I'm pretty satisfied that we can get the equipment and the training at very low, if any, cost to us. The question really comes down to the wages and benefits, and trying to figure out what is the most reasonable way to do that. And it's a work in progress. I don't know that we're going to find a short-term answer for that, but we're going to be as creative as we possibly can. You had mentioned, and I think it's a great idea to check with other agencies and see if there's kind of a sharing that we can do, or a, you know, partial cost to us. We're just still kind of discussing those things, and who would we partner with, and what would a partnership look like. It always gets a little tricky when you say, well, you get them 25% of the time and I get them 50%, and, you know, which 25% and which 50%, which, you know, it gets a little muddy. If you have good working relationships with folks, it can maintain those, or it can divide those relationships. And so you really want to look hard at the verbiage and the overall agreement that you would have with somebody like that.
All right.
Make sure that we can maintain good partnerships.
Good. Well, you've clearly invested time in following up on my previous request, and I thank you for that.
No problem. So
That's all I have.
I kind of get a feeling from discussions we've had and rumors of here that, you know, next year's budget may be a little tighter than this year's budget. So I'm fully aware of that. Just so you guys know, I'm going to do kind of the same thing I did last year. I'm going to ask for a lot of stuff that I will give you the best justifications for, and I feel that I need to be able to do our job. But I also fully anticipate being told no a lot, because you have a bigger picture that you're looking at. So I'm one piece of that puzzle, but so it just is what it is. I will make my requests, and you guys will do the best you can with what's available.
Yeah, I think I can speak on behalf of all of us, knowing that a key priority, if not the key priority of any level of government, is to serve and protect the citizens of their jurisdiction.
Yes.
So we'll do our best.
I will do my part to try to make it, you know, to try to do the best I can with the resources you do provide.
You always do.
We will work with that. So.
And then presumably within that, our highest priority is keeping what we already have.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to highlight that, because that's really kind of the timeline we're talking about, is the more stuff awarded, the sooner before that first person gets laid off. Typically,
Yes.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It is getting snug, Glenn, and I'm glad you recognize that, because there are going to be some tough decisions.
Yeah.
And you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Fight like hell for your department and the people that get them there.
I was going to say, don't get mad at me for doing my job, and I won't get mad at you for doing yours.
Okay.
We will work through it together. So.
Yes, we will.
All right, any other questions for the sheriff? Thank you.
Did you know it's a nice sunny day out there today?
Yeah.
It is.
It's supposed to be like 95
Football
degrees.
guy at lunch.
Yeah. The mornings, the cool mornings are just wonderful.
It feels like fall already.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Which is
Couple of
exciting to
nights.
me, because hunting season's coming up. I
It's
enjoy
been a
that.
couple of warm weeks.
Yeah. So.
See you this afternoon.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, be safe out there.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I went to Cabela's to get some food for my bird hunting trip. There was a conservation group that did not feel like we had enough land and conservation in front of Cabela's. It took me a second to figure out what they were talking about. Then I was like, man, I wasn't about to get into a big lecture there. As a county committee, you allow how much of mine inaccessible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and then they won't let you hunt on it even.
right, and that's like, men tell me you're gonna, but boy, if I could get it inked
I
somewhere.
feel like the way liability is going and the way litigation is going, you're gonna start seeing that from the timber companies. They're gonna start limiting access.
Yeah,
And some of them are already doing it or charging for access.
yeah,
And so
for whatever that's worth. I mean, I don't even know how you go about enforcing something like that.
you hire people to
Yeah, yeah.
They
I
have
guess-
staff.
I guess you got enough money to
yeah, close lock gates.
get some cameras on your trails and get some license plate numbers and. Maybe
Most
you could do
people are
something.
taking roads, so yeah. Especially cell cameras.
Sure.
In the west side, it's not uncommon. They're charging people for like an access stamp.
Yeah, yeah. I felt like this group needed to be east of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
We just all public lands out there.
Yeah.
There are places where they do need more public land.
And you know what's
I feel like
happening
we're
in southeastern Washington is these hunting clubs. And you probably, bird hunters, that's a big deal, because you're not part of the club, you don't get access.
Yeah.
But farmers are all part of the club.
So the guy, that Newport Police just hired, is it Jeremy? Does that sound right? Anyway, he came and went over the years in law enforcement, but he's back and he's a great pickup, but I guess he was in Texas for a while.
Yeah.
And he was saying, no public lands, no.
Yep, surprising.
nothing. And he said, you come up my land, $1,500 a year.
Right.
Like that's how, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's for
And it was part of the reason why I moved back up here. He's just
Yeah.
like, I just want to hunt.
Yeah.
There's nothing. The answer is no. That's weird. It's foreign to him.
Yeah, well, the wealthy can still hunt.
Yeah. Well, in Scotland, it was like, I want to hunt this turnip field, and you just bring the landowner a bottle of whiskey in.
Yeah.
Go kill the vermin. We don't want them out there anyway.
Yeah.
The bunnies or the pigeons or whatever. Guess that don't get you as far anymore.
Bottle of whiskey's probably worth more in Scotland than it is here.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't even try it in Ireland. I probably could have got way more.
Yeah. Depending on the time of day.
No, like I said, mostly the hares and the rabbits would go down and tear up the crops anyway. They were glad to see us.
Pretty much unrelated to this discussion, but don't even know if it's a bird, but there's a cat on the side of our house, right underneath the eave for like 6 hours yesterday.
In daylight?
Yeah. I just kept going out and looking and, okay, the bat's still there.
I can tell you how to empty the bathroom at Riverview Bible Camp of the girls' bathroom of junior high girls is just have a bat fly in there.
Okay.
They all come out really quick.
Yeah.
We had that happen about 4 times while I was there.
All right.
And
I would think that place would be full of bats.
there's bats all over.
I think every Bible camp I knew had bats.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's something going on in the news and some of them are rabid in Spokane. They found one or whatever.
Okay.
Oh, they don't know.
I took a photo on my phone, and you can see they have like 5 little.
Oh, they're
yeah.
nice with wings. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, their wings are almost translucent. You can almost see through them when they're stretched out. Karen, how are you?
Morning, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. We're having a discussion about bats. So.
Wow.
I love them. You can usually see them during the daylight, though.
No, the bad sign if you're seeing them out in the daylight.
Well, I was wondering, yeah.
Is that rabies or?
Yeah, or something they're not doing real well.
Yeah. Sickness. Yikes. Too many bats. Where are the bats at now?
Oh, he's
On the side of my house.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
They're not quite to his belfry, but they're getting there.
Make sure the house is sealed. Otherwise
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
I had a friend in Medellin Falls, and you could be sitting in his living room, and he had the wood stove there in the summertime, and it had a little thing you turned to give it more air. You could be sitting there in the evening, and a bat would come out of that hole, and fly around, and then go right back up. And wow. And he finally had to put a screen over the top of his chimney.
Yeah.
Because so many were coming down. Yeah, it sounds.
No, every time I opened the door, Terry would say, "Don't let the bat in." I'd say, okay.
There you-
It's Chris on.
She's correct.
The Oregon coast.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She can move on, but she's not thinking about us right now.
No, she's not.
Yeah, she got about 3 weeks?
Two.
Two, okay.
Yeah, it's a full two, a full two.
Nice. Sweet, good for her.
Yeah.
Gotta get out, take a vacation.
I'm a little shocked you're not on a fire somewheres.
Well, I was supposed to be, and I would
Yeah.
have just called in on Zoom. I was gonna go cover her on the Olympic. But we figured something out and got some other people involved. And it's been pretty quiet in Region Six.
It has, yeah.
There's a little bit heating up today, red flag warnings, but possibly monsoonal rains are moving north, so it might hit Oregon, Washington later this week.
Oh,
So if we can get through these next couple days, I think we'll be cooler and wetter than usual.
Yeah,
For the next
what I'm
week,
saying.
which is good. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like we've had a couple of timely,
yes. They've had some up north for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
rain
yeah,
events
yeah.
and some
Yeah.
some that had some
Yeah.
precip.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Canada fires, but yep, Oregon and Washington, just for the last couple weeks, Oregon has had 0 fires on the large fire map, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It felt like, just before COVID, maybe early COVID, but just before COVID, it felt like the whole summer was just smoky here.
oh,
you
yeah,
know?
2019 was bad.
And certainly
Yeah.
the Canada ones, aren't really in our control. Yeah.
Montana has a few, Utah, Arizona, Colorado have some large ones. A couple California, but otherwise, like, just a few pockets. Haven't been that bad.
So the fire there at Northport is mostly contained, isn't it? The one
Yes.
on,
Mhm.
yeah, Flat Creek Road.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just patrol
I know
status.
there's a lot of loggers up from up north that have been over there
Gotcha.
working on that.
Yep. Yeah. And we had that small one, Tioga,
Right,
about 12 acres. Terrible location.
yeah,
It's rocky, outcrop, like just impossible to put direct line all around it, just with these big boulders out there. And that Crescent Lake community, just the houses right around. Concerned for that. Wasn't very close to it, but just because it was hard to access and hard to come up with a strategy for that fire.
Crescent Lake, or it's not Crescent Lake, it's Caldwell Lake,
Caldwell Lake.
I think.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's not
Crescent
Crescent
is
Lake.
up by Boundary.
I was at Crescent
Yeah.
Lake last night.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So, no.
There's been a loon at Crescent.
Yes, we saw it.
Oh,
I took a
really?
picture.
It's still there? Oh, nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got a picture of it like a month ago or so. Cool. I'm glad it's still there. I'll tell Nicole. Caldwell. So yeah, just hard to come up with strategy, but that's a
Yeah.
patrol status now.
This one was gonna be worse because this year's feels like it's been so much windier.
I
To
know.
me, it
Yeah.
feels way windier,
Yeah.
which of course affects your ET rates as well.
Right. And we didn't have a lot of significant precipitation through June. Everything was dry. So we thought so too, but then we've just been getting little pockets of rain here and there
Yeah,
and some gully washers here.
yeah.
So here.
Okay, that's the crowd.
All right.
Got a couple of newspapers on and so watch your language, Karen. This is the last warning I'm gonna give you.
Guys,
11:30, it's all yours.
good to know. Good to know. Hopefully Chris, I know we invited Chris, the new ranger from Priest Lake, but, so moving forward, I don't know how y'all wanna do that, if you want us just to come at the same time.
Sure.
So, okay, I'll keep inviting him. Maybe one day we'll get somebody from Priest. So I'll start with the, Title Title II, rural schools. Funding. The RAC met earlier this year and heard a lot of proposals for projects. And one strategy that we took different from previous years is that a lot of the proposals submitted previously were specific projects. So it would go towards this one bridge. And once that funding went to the bridge, then it couldn't be used for anything else because that's what the RAC would recommend. And what we did is create more general proposals that the RAC would recommend to the regional forester. Because it took almost 15 years to form a RAC, and as long as it's approved as funding that can be spent, then move forward spending that money for these tests. That being said, and all this has been approved, we need SRS to be reauthorized by Congress. Currently it has not been, and it's not looking like it will be. I don't know, I think Brian's been involved in that a little bit.
You said need refunded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we need to spend these funds, by the end of 26, or it goes back to the treasury.
So, and is that affected by whether it's passed and refunded again?
No, the funds currently are
Right.
not affected at all.
That's what I
New
thought.
funds would be affected.
New funds would
Yep.
be affected.
Yep.
So
New funds.
the refunding of SRS doesn't really impact what we're looking at here.
Correct.
Okay.
But
Going forward,
yeah,
it would.
it will. And if we don't spend the money,
It goes
it
back
goes back.
if it's not refunded.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's looking very complicated
It is.
for
Yeah.
it to be refunded.
Correct.
Yeah, it's.
I know.
There's so much communication going on, and I've not been following all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't been following it either. That doesn't, it impacts us as a county, but for
Yeah.
me, like, I don't have a role in that at all.
Yeah.
And so the RAC came to the agreement through recommendation of the board of what types of things to fund. And our intent is to do agreements with the county, especially for road maintenance, so road agreement. Oreille got more money, and I think there was just more money that hasn't been spent through the years, so it appears like we have more, it just hasn't been effectively utilized. And so funds available by county, the entire thing on the backside is 713 total.
How do you guys have your own rubric for which roads you're doing when?
We do not. The only requirement that I know of is just kind of assisting access to the forest, which a lot of county roads do that. I have some recommendations of roads to look at. Bead Lake up to the Bear Paw is one. Middle Fork is another one that's pretty bad. Then like Big Meadow, Smack Out's pretty good. Hanks Butte.
Yeah.
Rocky Creek, which is that
Mhm.
parcel that is still county, that's really kind of weird. I got word from Matt that the county is maybe interested in trading out of that
I
portion
think
of
we
it.
did already. We did.
Oh, we did? Just recently?
A
Oh,
couple weeks ago.
nobody told me.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So you're in the loop.
Oh, so now we need
You're
to
up to date.
maintain it. Okay, so that wouldn't be a good.
You're welcome.
Okay, right? Was that working with our lands folks?
I think it had been done way previously, but it wasn't fully executed, is from what I
Okay.
gathered. And now we finally fully executed it.
Okay. Let me double check on that. Cause I don't know if you fully executed it on the county
On the county.
process.
Yeah.
Did the Forest Service sign that too?
I think it was just vacating the portion And I think we have to still get it onto your guys' plate as far as doing that.
Okay,
We've had some fluctuations, so.
Okay.
trying to keep up with.
cause I haven't heard anything about the Forest Service agreeing to that, signing off on it, so.
I know somebody from the Forest Service did reach out
Okay,
about a week or so ago. So,
okay, I'll follow up on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, cause I'd heard that and I was like, oh, news to me.
and I think we have an agreement that also with Stevens County, because it goes into Stevens County,
Yep,
that we need to amend as well, because it has that wording in there.
yeah. Cause everything that I read, the county had said that like all the signatures and stuff never included that parcel.
Mhm.
But then at the very end, the county included that parcel, but nobody signed off on it.
Right.
So, okay, yeah, we'll get it. It makes sense. I'll just follow up to make sure like our process is complete, so we know about it. And our engineers make.
So I guess for me, the big question still is. Forest access roads, Monterey County Forest Road process going forward of how those dollars are spent, how we're involved in that, how the decision making, who's administering that, and that. To me, that's a big question.
I think this is a good place to do that, just to talk
Right here,
about it.
just take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we all just agree on it.
Yeah.
We can recommend, but ultimately, like, we do the agreement,
Yes.
the county has the funding and.
Right.
And you can use it, but I think just a collaborative process of looking at roads and needs.
Is it Forest Service at the bottom of the other half of Kalispell Creek of the road up, or sorry, Kalispell Peak up to our towers? Was that Forest
It's a
Service or was that?
mismatch. It's
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Strange,
Yeah,
that's a
okay.
strange one.
Cause that
Yeah,
one we're.
It goes in and out of all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
We're dropping dollars on that one every year, trying to
Starts
keep
in- yeah.
those propane up there.
Yeah, I think past the gate is not us.
Right, yeah, past the gate
Yeah.
is not, but I was
Yeah.
wondering, short of that. one.
Yeah, and I think a little bit part of that stems on, it's a weird one.
Yeah, in my opinion, as far as the selection of the roads, if you came in here with us, we could hammer it out.
Yep.
And I think we could accomplish that. I would say we would maybe kind of set an agenda for getting that done.
Right.
And some timelines that we want to keep. And then as far as would that be administering the jobs, would these be jobs that county crews could do?
I think so.
It's okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Or contracting, because we would just do an agreement with the county to give the money to the county.
I see.
447,000.
Okay.
We could stretch them a whole lot further if we put our guys on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Depends on what it is, but
Yeah.
I see some of this is like brushing on
Oh, yeah.
forest roads. We could still do brushing.
Yep.
With a machine, but I know
Okay.
you guys spend a lot of money doing that
Right,
as well.
yeah.
Contract.
Yep, we contract that out, so then we can talk
Right.
about which roads are appropriate. to
Right.
our
We did
contracts.
just get a nice machine for doing that.
Yep,
I saw you in Blading. We could do
Yep.
that too.
okay.
Any specific questions I'm missing here, Chrissy?
We do the work, is there, I'm sure, within the agreement, as far as reimbursements go? Is it a one-time lump sum payment, or should we?
I think it could go either way. I think you could request a one-time lump,
Okay.
or submit receipts. I think the lump payment probably is easier. But I think it could go either way.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Okay, so do you want to set the schedule of picking those? We could do it during one of your updates, maybe
Yep,
extend the time.
Yep, and then I'll
We
bring
could
that.
have our public works staff here,
Right,
and
Yep.
you could have maybe somebody on your end,
right, yeah.
and then
get
we
engineer.
could
Okay,
do that.
yep, let's do
And
that.
come up with some maps,
Yep,
and then come up with a list with mile post numbers.
okay, sounds good, yep. Let's do it, so we could do it
Let's give our
October or
folks
November.
a little heads up there.
Yeah.
What they might require that.
If we could extend that time, yeah, either October, November. That's
Okay, sounds good.
Are there guardrails on that, like when that has to be spent by or no?
2026, yep,
End of
end of 2026. And I don't know if
End of
that's
next year.
fiscal year,
Oh,
answer.
Yeah, so we need to have a plan by the end of this year.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should have a plan for spending them, and then we need to kind of count on we're going to spend them next year. So that's helpful to know going into our budget.
And is it the 713?
it's 447.
447.
Yeah, 447.
Unless reauthorized, all funds associated must be obligated by September 30th, 2026.
Okay.
So,
And if it's reauthorized, that would extend that deadline.
yeah, that was, yeah,
It's kind of looking doubtful.
that's what I'm seeing too. Yeah. And then we have a different problem to solve.
What's that?
And then we have a different problem to solve.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last week we had a Quad County meeting.
Might miss it.
Anything else on?
No, think we're good.
Yep, and it was really good. We talked about NEPA, a lot of the changes with NEPA that are coming through, G&A opportunities. And with NEPA analysis as this is our opportunity to communicate with the public. And we have this official comment period, and this is when we're going to communicate with the public. And so what Quad Counties is looking at is how do we shift that now? Because a lot of that's going to go away of required comment period scoping as far as NEPA. So how do we engage in a meaningful way where we understand, one, that somebody in New York has just as much input as locals, but if we're all at the table looking at maps and talking about projects and everything, we really understand what the local need is and how do we accommodate that, reduce wildfire risk. And so Quad County is looking at ways to engage. I'm talking to my staff locally about maybe setting up meetings quarterly or something that are public opportunities throughout the county where we look at maps and project areas and talk about what we're thinking and what the public might want to see as well with that. So
I think that's excellent. I think there's nothing like firsthand
right.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
And from the people that are closest.
Yeah.
And frankly, those are the first people that are going to be impacted.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think that's excellent.
From the economy standpoint of job,
fire,
from fire.
everything.
Yeah. Exactly. And that interaction and engagement is something I want, because by the time we get to a proposed action in NEPA, that's basically, we're considering that the decision.
Right.
We've done everything ahead of time to get to an action that we know the county supports.
And that's what's broken now.
Yeah.
Is there's too much work put into these projects, and then to have them trip a tripwire.
Right.
80-75% down the process.
Right.
And so that's what's broken
Yeah.
now. If we could get some efficiencies.
Right.
Could you have told us sooner?
Right, exactly. And it's hard, 100-page document, hard to digest, hard to make comments
Sure.
that we need. So, so more to come on that. I think we're going to start that this winter for the next project area, which is Sand Creek, which is to the west of Sullivan Lake. So all that area, direct risk to Medellin Falls. Slate's out for objection right now, Slate Creek project. That'll end towards the end of September. And then we'll move towards a decision October, November.
So your next project is going to be Sand Creek.
Sand Creek, yeah.
Okay.
About 4,000 acres, just all of that area. What we did is we looked at the map. It was supposed to be Harvey Sullivan. With the changes to NEPA regulations, and a lot of those regulations going away and being replaced by different regulations, we overlaid a lot of resources that cause conflict with each other. And this area is where they all converge. So grizzly bears, caribou, bull trout, white bark pine, wolverine, are all in that project area of Harvey Sullivan. And then Sand Creek has none of them.
Right.
So we thought from a wildfire perspective, closest to town, having something that has less complications.
Agreed.
Is probably the best,
Agreed.
more straightforward.
Little lower elevation, you don't have some of that.
Makes sense to me.
Lower risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but high risk as far as wildfire.
I know somebody that lives right there, that sounds great, so
Yeah.
I live 2 miles from Sand Creek, so.
They passed your house the other day when we were looking at
Yeah.
the culvert replacements.
Yeah.
So there's that one, and then GNA as well. The agency thinks the Explore Act that opened up GNA opportunities and retaining revenue for counties and tribes. I thought it was just for recreation, but the agency is taking the stance that it's for anything, restoration wise. And so that they're trying to find the mechanism to retain that revenue. We don't have it currently in the same way that we have it with the state. But once they figure that part out of retaining revenue and putting that revenue back into restoration activities, then that agreement would open up the opportunity for the county to do some timber work and some small sales, retain that and put the work back into restoration, which would impact jobs.
And if that ever came to that point, identify and locate, and how would you? And
Probably would be a combination. It could be a combination of both.
Okay.
What we do currently is we do the planning and the need
Right.
analysis, and we generally have anywhere from like 2 to 10 sales in one project area because they're so large, and we select 1 or 2 and we give those to the state as part of the GNA to operate.
goes back to our earlier conversation, though, if you're having those scoping meetings.
Yep, yep.
The county could have some impact, or whoever
Right, yeah.
is doing those under the neighbor authority could have some, give some direction.
Yep.
And some input.
Yep. And then the county would need their own contracting mechanism.
Right,
Could work with DNR to come up with one similar,
right,
to operate the whole thing, and the tribe as well. You could partner with the tribe, that could be an opportunity. Or if the county says, hey, we think this is a really high fire risk, it's right next to Ione, we wanna
Right.
do this project, that's a fuel break right here.
right.
Then you could do the NEPA as well and do the whole
And
thing.
that's exactly where my mind went. It would be strategic locations near communities or adjacent to other landowners
Mhm.
that we could administer and accomplish something
Yeah.
in a smaller area.
Right.
Yeah,
And then I would retain the decision making and we'd work through the action and stuff.
but the revenues could be
Yeah.
retained.
Yeah.
Then, okay,
And then it could go back into habitat restoration,
whatever.
thinning, prescribed fire,
Okay.
fuels work. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be curious to see if SRS goes away. There's gonna be an evolving process of revenue sharing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
And what that looks like for us, Monterey County, that's a big part of our budget, a big part of a lot of people's budget.
Yeah.
And obviously that process is gonna have to evolve. And I think that's why it's having trouble passing, is the process probably needs to be
Yeah.
evolved.
I think that's gonna happen anyway.
I think it should happen. I agree.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting, and I hope that we can have a conversation about that,
Mhm.
of what it looks like. And to me, spending general tax dollars to pay, basically, we're paying counties to not cut their timber like they used to. And then at the same time, paying to have fuels reductions work done at a budget expense. There's something a little bit broken on the bigger picture about that.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I know it's all fallout of
Yeah.
it's an ongoing thing, but
Yeah. And I think what counties need to recognize too is that when you sell the timber, if we get to that point with the GNA, it doesn't just go to like the county general fund.
Right.
It can fund other salaries.
I understand.
You can fund salaries for sure.
Right.
But it's directly work that goes
Yes.
back on that. So
Yeah.
opportunity for, employment
Right.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Working directly.
Overhead.
Yeah, totally.
Overhead.
Yep.
Yeah, especially in our case where, you know, we're doing timber sales already. And, you know, it might be enough to tip the scales.
Yeah.
To have some staff to do that.
Yeah. And potentially, I don't know, but potentially, you know, the roads department could get some more money for
Right.
roads that access the forest and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the work on, but more to come, cause we have the authorization, but not the mechanism to do it, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and another reason to have you at the table, however often we have you at the table. Because so often government hands not talking to the foot or wherever else. And
Yeah.
planning completely independently and too much overlap, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're always value added at this table, so.
Thanks. Talked to some colleagues that say, you know, we meet our commissioners twice a year or something. Like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
There every month. Like, yeah. Sometimes I don't have a lot to talk about, but still.
Ebbs and flows.
Some stuff. Yeah, exactly. Any other questions?
No, I'm good, Karen.
Guess not.
Excellent.
Be safe out there.
You too. Yeah.
I drove up to the Salmo Lookout. I'm waiting for you guys to put
Next
an
year.
open sign on it.
Next year. I know.
I hear you're gonna build an outhouse up there.
Yep. That just recently agreement just went through for an outhouse.
Good.
We're doing some last minute restoration. This fall.
Good. I'm gonna be on.
I know. Me too. I would like to stay there as well. We are looking at, so I will say that the FAA does inspections on all of our lookouts for safety. And so they will be here in the next 2 weeks. And then we're gonna come up with a plan to restore the others as well.
Whose job is that? Go inspect those.
Yeah. The worst one's South Baldy because it's so tall. But just like is it structurally sound so that we could then restore it and open it up as a rental and stuff. So we'll look at Sullivan. I know there might be interest up north, in the county of maybe some volunteers, Timber Mountain and South Baldy.
Sure.
So,
Okay. Awesome.
yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, let's see.
Okay, let's turn to here, because we have to be back before 1. Well, if there is, raise your hand if you have a reason we do not need to be recessing at this very moment. We're gonna recess until 12:55. Petna calls to be here 5 minutes.
After you explain to me what term to use.
Military term.
All right, it's like about face, isn't it?
Well, no, it's, get to work.
All right, okay. I had no idea what it means either. Okay, you go.
But if you see somebody doing that, 2 fingers, turn 2, get back to work.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense.